All right, AP Econ, this is Mr. Hagan again, and one more video for fractional reserve banking. So in this last video, we did the example of this guy putting $1,000 into Hagan's Fourth National Bank, and that created at a 10% reserve ratio. That created $100 of reserves, and it created $900 of loans that were lent out to other people. So now we're going to do, and by the way, that reserve ratio, remember the formula I gave you before, that reserve ratio is R divided by demand deposits. R is the reserves, so there's $100 sitting in reserves divided by the $1,000 of deposits. That's the reserve ratio. That's where this 10% is coming from. That's a 10% reserve ratio. Okay, so let's take a look at what happens if this process continues. So now, let's say that in the last example, we had this person, we'll call them person A, and person A had $1,000 of cash, and they put that into Hagan's Fourth National Bank, and $900 got lent out to another person. We'll call that person B, and person B now has $900. Okay, that was from our last example. Let me just go back and just look at that again. So that was right here. This guy, this was person A. He put the $1,000 into a demand deposit in Hagan's Fourth National Bank. 10% of that stays in the bank as a reserve, and the other $900 gets lent out to person B. So that's where I got these numbers over here for person B. They have $900, but they have $900 in cash. But let's say they take that cash, and instead of going out and spending it, this person takes that $900 and they put it on a deposit at another bank. We'll call it Hagan's Fifth National Bank. And so this guy takes $900 and they put it on deposit. And the bank creates a demand deposit, and that demand deposit is a liability for them. And then remember, they're going to have a 10% reserve ratio. So they're going to take that $900 and they're going to take 10% of that and put that in reserve. They're going to put that literally in the vault. So they're going to take $90 and put it in the vault. And then the other $810, they're going to take the other $810 and they're going to lend it out to other people. And so now, off of this original $1,000, there was a $900 loan that created a new demand deposit at another bank. And then that $900, 10% of it, $90, ends up on reserves, but that frees up another $810 to be lent to some other person. And so we'll call that other person person C. So here's this other guy, person C, and he now has $800 in his hands. And what's he going to do with the $800? Well, let's say he's going to take the $800 and he's going to take that $800 and he's going to go put it on deposit. He's going to go deposit that money at Hagan's Sixth National Bank. So he takes that $800, puts it into the bank. That's going to be right there. And so that creates a new demand deposit in Hagan's Sixth National Bank. But again, that $800, they're going to take 10% of that. That's going to be $81. So 10% of that $800 right here is going to become reserves that literally goes into pieces of paper that's going to go into the vault, and those $81 of pieces of paper are going to sit in the vault. But you had $810 on deposit minus the $81 that got put on reserve. That's going to leave another $729 available for loans. And that money is going to get lent out to, let's say, another person, person D. They're going to borrow the $729 and they're going to go put it on deposit somewhere. And then this process goes on and on and on. So how much money was created so far? Well, in the first example that we did, we created a new $900 that did not exist before. Okay, the $1,000 that we started with, that was a demand deposit that got put in the bank, and that generated a new $900 of loans that did not exist before, and that $900 got deposited right here in Hagen's Fifth National Bank. So $900 was created. That's right there. And then that $900, 90 of it was put on reserve, and that allowed for $810 of additional loans. And those $800 of additional loans, they went on to be deposited in another bank, and so that was another $810 that was created. And then $81 of that went on reserve, 10% reserve ratio, and that allowed another $729 to be lent out to other people. And so far we've created 900 plus 810 plus 729. So far we've created 2,439 additional dollars that did not exist before. And that was all created from that initial $1,000. Okay? When this guy took that $1,000 and put it into the bank, and that got lent out, and then that created new deposits that got lent out and new deposits that got lent out, that generated a new $2,439 that did not exist before. Okay? Fractional reserve banking literally leads to the creation of money that did not exist before. So this process will continue to play out forever, but it does not create this should be an infinite number of dollars. This is for you guys in calc class. This is called a converging infinite series. We can talk about that more some other time. But there's a formula that captures this concept called the money multiplier, and that will tell you how much money will get created in the end by that original $1,000. So far, $2,439 has been created, but a lot more is going to be created because this $729 is going to go get deposited, and the process continues. So what is the money multiplier? The money multiplier is the reciprocal of the reserve ratio. It's the reciprocal of the reserve ratio. So let's go take a look at how that works. So the money multiplier is going to be 1 divided by the reserve ratio. So in our example, the reserve ratio was 10%. So we would do 1 divided by 1 over 10, or 0.1. That's your 10%, because remember we had a reserve ratio at the beginning of this of 10%. Okay, so it's going to be 1 divided by 0.1, which is equal to 10. That's going to be the money multiplier. What does that mean? That means that the original deposit of $1,000 that we had at the beginning times the money multiplier, by the end of this process, there will be $10,000 in money supply as a result of the original $1,000 deposit. Now, that $10,000, that includes the original deposit, the original $1,000, plus the money that is created. So let's just separate that out more carefully. The money created is the answer from up here, is the $10,000 from up here that now exists, minus the original deposit, which is this $1,000 here. So it would be $10,000 minus $1,000, and that means that $9,000 is the money that is created. Okay, this $1,000, that's part of the $10,000 money supply, but that already existed at the beginning. That was the original $1,000 that the original guy put in the bank. And so the money supply will grow from 1,000 to 10,000, and literally $9,000 will be created out of thin air. Okay, literally out of thin air. That is how banks create money in the fractional reserve system.